Hello again, and thank you for staying with us. We continue here. The Acting Police Minister Firoz Cachalia says he's concerned that a working agreement between the South African Police Service, Western Cape Government and the City of Cape Town has yet to be implemented. Now, the three spheres of government signed a cooperative or cooperation agreement more than a year ago, and this was in response to the high crime rate in that province. Now, this agreement is meant to enhance collaboration between SAPS, the provincial and municipal police, to address crime concerns in that province. Let's speak about this issue now with Willem Els from the Institute for Security Studies. Mr. Els, good to have you on the program this evening. Given your experience with interagency and intergovernmental cooperation, what do you see as the main bottlenecks here preventing this cooperation agreement between SAPS, the Western Cape Government and the City of Cape Town from being fully implemented in this case?
Good evening, Nhlanhla. Yeah, I think if we go back, when the now suspended minister took over the reins, one of his four areas of focus in his new strategy was exactly what this agreement entitled, and that is to bring all your different police services, that is your municipal, your provincial, and your national police service, but also the private sector and security companies together and to fight crime together. Because what we see is there's a general tendency, not only between your provincial and your city police and the police, national police, but also other agencies that they tend to work in silos. And this new agreement then actually tried to break down that silos and to facilitate a better cooperation and coordination between your three different police services in order to fight the crime in the Western Cape.
One of the key elements of the agreement is sharing intelligence, data, and also other police resources. From your perspective, how realistic is this in South Africa's current institutional environment, or what gaps even exist, technical, legal, or even in terms of trust that might hamper effective information sharing for the police?
Yeah, that's always been a challenge. In intelligence, normally the agency that's got the intelligence, they regard themselves as the kings and the kingmakers. So unfortunately, that's in practice how it works. But in order to break that down, you have to have trust. And I think this agreement paved the way for these three different departments in order to share this intelligence and also their resources, because we see that in some instances some of these services have better equipment, more technology, but also some have better intelligence than some of the others. And that if they manage to pool all of that, the technology, the intelligence, the CCTV cameras, and all the other intelligence apparatus that they got, but also we see that they've got a unit in the city that also start to investigate, and we see there's a big backlog in the investigation of crime. So I think if they could have implemented this, we would have been way ahead than we are now with the non-implementation.
Willem, a personal note, you've previously observed that criminals have lost fear of police and are more brazen, even attacking officers. How does this escalation then change what successful crime prevention and policing strategies should look like, especially in high crime provinces like the Western Cape?
Well, in the first place, it only comes through a demonstration of purpose and also through a demonstration of capacity. So should the police, and now we're looking at the three of them, should they come together and they have a show of force in terms of their capability, in terms of their visibility, but also in terms of their how they operate and the successes that they have. Because at the end of the day, if the police cannot enforce or stamp down their authority on the criminals, these criminals will tend to fight back. They will not have their fear or respect for the police if they can believe that they can get away with it, and that leads uneventfully to them using violence against the police. So that is one of the flow-outs of it.
Yeah, your research has shown that many crimes go unreported due to a lack of trust in the SAPS. How does this then undermine collaboration like the one between SAPS, the province and the city? And also to add to it, what practical steps are needed to then restore community trust so that residents actually feel safe to report crime and support law enforcement?
Yeah, in the first place, we see that our trust levels in the police, it hovers around about 20% or just above 20%, according to the latest statistics. And that is very low. That demonstrates to you that the trust levels of the police, they do not trust the police in the first place to protect them, in the second place to actually investigate and to bring crime to justice. So that is the only way that will actually start to change is by demonstration of capability and also of competence by the police. If they have a good strategy that leads to a very good operational plan that can combine these three forces, they can pool all the resources and the capacity, and then the thing that will manage to really bring back that trust and gain the trust from the public is if they see results that are coming from that. And that should not be that difficult if they pull together, because we still believe that there are adequate and enough policemen and women on all three forces or services that are really there because they want to make a difference. There are bad apples, but that will actually put them in a minority.
Right. But the agreement mentions using technology, also ensuring that cameras are indeed working and better tools for law enforcement are guaranteed. From your viewpoint, what are the priority technological investments that would have the biggest impact here? And are there risks in relying too much or too heavily on tech while other systematic issues remain unaddressed in the province?
Well, I think there should be a balance, but I think if you look at technology, especially in the new age of CCTV camera surveillance that is there, we've got a lot of them deployed, but if they are not monitored effectively, and if that information is not analyzed and put to good use and used as intelligence, but also as evidence, we are failing in that. So what we see is, the police is normally a step or two behind when it comes to technology, and the criminals are actually exploiting it for their benefit. So what I think that the police should invest in here, we should embrace AI. They should look at AI, how it can help them with analysis, help them with the sifting of the things, and also they should use better algorithms when it comes to these programs to help them with surveillance, to actually flag or red flag the incidents. Then it will then make it much more easier for them to pinpoint where the problems are and act more swiftly on this. Apart from that, it will also gather a lot of evidence. And then, whenever you have your electronic surveillance or other electronic information comes from your cell phones, etc., etc. If you do not have the capacity to effectively download, analyze, and use that as evidence in court, it's no use that you have it. So what we need to do, we need to invest in that and make sure that the policemen on the ground, these investigators, that they have the adequate resources in order to exploit the technology to its fullest.
Perhaps that segues quite nicely into my last question. If this agreement is fully implemented, what do you believe needs to happen over the next 5 to 10 years to truly turn the tide, especially on crime in the Western Cape and beyond? Should we be focusing more on prevention, economic drivers of crime, or even a systematic reform of the criminal justice system?
Yeah, I think you mentioned all of them has got a place. I think what is needed now is we need a more holistic approach. When we look at policing, we have to look at first of all at the drivers. When it comes to crime prevention, that is in terms of the Constitution, one of the mandates of the police. The police is held responsible for crime prevention and prevention of crime every year in Parliament, but they do not have control over the drivers of crime. So what we would like to see is that the police and all the other departments, all the divisions, but also your private sector, your civil society get together, and those who can actually make a difference with a strategy on how to prevent crime come together with the police, and they actually develop a strategy, and that should normally be on your ministerial level. That is where your minister comes in, where he plays a very important role, not only with the strategizing the policy, but also with the civilian oversight. And then it should really be forced down to the operational police, where the National Commissioner and his team has to take responsibility and has to implement all of these strategies. It's not going to take 2 or 3 weeks to turn this thing around. It developed over many years, and it's going to take a lot of time of dedication, good strategy, but also good implementation that will turn this ship around.
It's not going to happen overnight. At least that's the assessment I'm getting from you as well. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Els, sharing your time this evening and for sharing your insight. It is quite clear that while agreements like the one between SAPS, the province and the city are a necessary step, I guess the real test lies in execution.